Peace, y'all. Welcome to Talking Tarot Show. Diary Sanchez, aka Mocha Se'er. And I'm not going to be here too long. I'm going to try not to be here too long. So I'm not going to wait for people to chime in. I'm going to just get started. If you chime in, please share live so that I can stay in the algorithm. But I'm here to talk about a subject, and I want to put in my disclaimer that this subject is completely my own theory. What's up, y'all? Peace. If you join, please stick around. Listen to this timely subject of the modularity versus monolithic mindsets of human behaviors is what I'm here to talk about. These are completely my theories. These are completely my own observations. I want to make that clear. I'm not here to go against anybody else's mindset, belief systems, and none of that, but I am here to bring awareness to certain things. And human behavior is one of the things that I would love to talk about in our mindsets. Oftentimes, we live in a society to where we've been taught one way, and we've been taught to see things one way. We've been taught to do things one way. So that when other people do things a little bit different from the way that we've been taught, it makes us uncomfortable. And we tend to shy away from it, or we tend to debunk it, or we tend to, to have negative feelings towards it. We shun it. And we've been taught to do that. So I wanted to talk about this human behavior of a mindset between modularity and monolithic. And so we know that monolithic and modularity is contrast of one another. So how can these two coexist, and how do they repel? And that's what I came here to talk about. And we know that modularity is something that you design, a product of something that's created in separate sections. It's its own independent entity. However, it can also be flexible enough to work with other systems according to its own code. It can still perform the same way in different systems. So you may be asking yourself, like, what does this have to do with anything? But just let me keep going. When you look at modularity is flexible. It has its own components. It has its own code according to what it needs, right? So when you look at human behavior, for example, a laptop, a battery of a laptop, we know that laptops are not designed with the battery in it. The battery is its own separate entity, but it comes with the laptop. However, the battery can be flexible enough to be taken from the laptop and used in another system to perform the same in a different system to do something different in another component. And likewise, we're kind of created the same way. When you look at human behaviors, what does that have to do with anything? Because when you look at modularity, it can be classified in 3 different categories: project, process, or use. I'm going to break that down. Modularity of the brain. The brain works the same way because the brain has a network of principles that it has to identify with the degree of which the functional brain works. Our brains are divided into 3 networks: the unconscious, the subconscious, and the conscious. Y'all following me? Stick with me, and share my live, please. Depending on which components is the strongest of the mind will also determine which category the behavior of the person can be classified, whether their modularity is under project, process, or use. So I'm going to break that down. A person who's under project is someone who's a flexible individual, yet they're open enough to be collaborative with others to achieve a particular aim. So there are people who are open-minded enough, although they still have their own individual way of doing things. They're not closed and shut off to other things that appear to be different from them. They don't feel like just because someone or something else is not agreeing to the way they see or perceive or do things, that it's automatically is something that they should repel from. They don't see it as an enemy. They don't see it as something that's going against them. They see it as something individual and individually different, and they collaborate with it to see where they could fit in and how they can also come and bring what they have to offer. All right. Now you have the process. Those who might be skeptics, but still will take the steps to still take a series of actions to achieve a particular aim. So those that are in the process, under the classification of process, they'll still be open enough to go do their own thing and take a series of steps to achieve a particular aim. But then you have those of use. Those of use are those who will display their own independence and put in services to put themselves to use by implementing and exerting themselves in the grand scheme of things. The people that fall under the classification of use when it comes to modularity mindset, they have their own independence. They have a clear vision of what needs to be done, and they implement themselves in the scheme of things to get it done, to take care of it, to make it happen without worrying about what other people think. These are people who are completely independent thinkers. Yet they're not opposed to other things and other people. Instead, they try to understand differences instead of repelling or going against it or causing some sort of conflict. All right. Now, these are three different classifications of three different mindsets of modularity that I'm speaking on. Process, use, and project. Those who are willing to work with others, those who just want to go on their own path until they figure things out, and those who just come in and they already see the vision and they understand their purpose in that particular achievement to get the job done. All right. Those that are under process, those that are willing to work and collaborate with others, they're willing to embrace their individuality without knowing their sole purpose. So you have those with the mindset that they are open and flexible, yet they may not even know their own sole purpose, but they're still willing to carry out a deed or do what it is that they need to do and still be able to brace whatever individual thing it is that they do, although they may not resonate with it as a sole purpose. All right. Those in process also may not even be aware of the grand scheme of things, but they know they're not supposed to fit in the box. So what they'll do is they'll explore things until they find their niche. Okay. How does this imply to the opposite of modularity? Well, we know the opposite of modularity is monolithic. Okay, and that's to be inflexible, rigid, unbending, unchanging, something massive or monumental in the size of magnitude. For instance, a monolithic society. Now, I want to use something as an example. And I'm not here to offend anybody, like I said, but I would like to bring awareness to why is it so difficult for people to just accept that we have differences? Why is it so difficult for people to open up? And this is what makes it very difficult for people to go through a healing process, even those who may have come out of this monolithic mindset. And sometimes it's hard to let those things go when you've been taught something all your life and you've just been taught one way to see things. Sometimes it's hard to disconnect from those things. And a lot of people find they struggle with that. So they get stuck in those places, like a lot of people that's walked away from religion. They get stuck and still trying to heal from those things because they still have not found a way to completely divorce or release those monolithic thoughts. Okay, so for example, different bodies, same mind. That's not a bad thing to be all on one accord. But in my observation, the problem is each mind still has its own components and its own code. And it still has its own independent needs. So we as people, although we can be one people, one mind, be all on one accord, it's very possible to be all on one accord, yet we still have our own individual needs, our own individual mind, our own individual path, and our own individual purpose. And in my opinion and observations, religion when you look at that, and I'm using that as an example because when you look at monolithic mindsets, a lot of it comes from our upbringing. When you're sitting in a classroom with 30 other children, y'all all got to be on one accord. When you're walking in a straight line, y'all all got to walk a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're literally being trained to be a monolithic mind, a monolithic thinker all your life. Nobody grows up in this society taught how to have their own independent thinking. They don't teach you critical thinking skills in school. They don't do any of those things. So now I'm here to talk about how those issues can cause behavioral problems in your adult life as well as your childhood. It gets worse when you become an adult because the older you get in things, the more, the more I want to say stiff you become when it comes to being flexible for the most part. Okay. But religion has created why most, I'm going to just say this much. This is the reason why religion has created a lot of enemies. Because a lot of people snap out of that mindset and then they think about all the things that they've allowed themselves to overlook in their life. All the things that they missed. You understand what I'm saying? All of the self-reacquaintance that they have to do. 20, 30 years later, they got to go back and make up for all that lost time, you know? And so religious people, I want to say for the most part, a lot of them, they don't know their own purpose. A lot of them still struggle with that. And then you have to ask yourself, if you are here for one cause, one monolithic cause, which is to serve a God and be faithful and preach the good news and get married and be a submissive wife or be a leading husband. And if you're here to do that, then why are you still looking for your purpose? Most people live that lifestyle and they still feel very unfulfilled. Why? Because of the monolithic mindset that what they believe has created in them. They don't want to come outside of that. Anything that's eccentric, anything that's different, they shun it. Anything that they think is taboo, they shun it. It becomes very superstitious for them to go outside of anything that they've been taught. It's like they've been taught to only see this. Anything that looks like this or anything that looks like that, they don't want to see it. They don't want to talk about it. They want to shun it because it's not of what they believe. It's not of God. That's what they say. Okay. And when you don't know your purpose, being inflexible, rigid, unbending, and unchanging is definitely one way to be someone who's very, very, very disconnected from your life's purpose. Very disconnected. Everything, every living thing has to change. Even the dead. Even if something dies, it still changes. Because if it was once living, that means that now it's dead, and to be dead only means to change forms. So even the dead has to change. The problem is with monolithic thinking people, they don't see the need or the necessity of change unless it's by their own standards, ways, or guidelines. Okay. And the monolithic mindset creates behavior in humans that shuns and it looks down on anything natural, anything eccentric, or anything constantly growing or evolving. And this creates a mindset of a mental disability that it's only one way for things to be done, and it's only the way that they see things. Most people with a monolithic mindset, they have one way to see things, and the only way they can approve of it is if it's by their standards or if it's by their approval. Okay. And so most people in that mindset are likely to suffer from depression, clinical depression, backdoor sadness. You know, the people who want to act like everything is okay, but then they go home and they crying all night, or they go home sad, or they go home and they really lonely and they really not the person they portray to be. Okay. All of these things creates narrow mindsets. And in tarot, a narrow mindset will be considered the Eight of Swords. The Eight of Swords is will be considered a monolithic mindset because you don't see anything out of these quarters. You're stuck right here in these quarters. Okay. And you're solid on that. You're not changing it. And this is in tarot, the Eight of Swords is somebody that's being inflexible, rigid in their thinking, one-sided, only seeing things their way, ignoring facts, all of that type of stuff, right? Then you have the Ace of Swords. And the Ace of Swords is a very clear thinking person. Somebody who sees things with a clear mind. Someone who has an active pineal gland, that their consciousness is very in full effect. This is somebody that falls under the category of use. Remember, it was 3 of them. It was project, process, and use. This is somebody of project. This is project as well too. I will give that Page of Swords, project, and process. But use would be the Ace of Swords, because this is somebody who sees things for what it is and they act accordingly. This is somebody who knows their creativity. This is somebody who knows what needs to be done. They see it clearly. They know how to plan it. They know how to carry it out. They know how to make it happen. All right. So this is the Ace of Swords energy. All right. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of the things that we've been taught, we've been misinformed about. One is reading tarot. That's evil. That's demonic. That's all of this stuff is scientifical, and it all goes back to energy. When you look at energy, okay, we look at the word magic and sorcery, and we've been told that anything that is connected to those words is not of God. Well, I'm here to give a different aspect of that, okay? Because the word magic and sorcery means the same thing. God, to call or invoke. So when you're performing any type of ritual, you're calling or you're invoking. It's the same thing. And then the word God comes from, if you look at the Proto-Indo-European word, God, it's the word gut, spelled G-H-U-T. Y'all go look this stuff up, G-H-U-T, gut, okay? And when you look at it, that also goes back to meaning that which is invoked. But if you keep looking, it also means to be depressed, diminished. And it also means to strike again, retaliate, or resist. Now, when you look at all of these words, right, you got to think about how all of this stuff apply. Because most people, when they're looking for things outside of themselves, it does cause us depression. Because what you're doing is you're depressing the God in yourself, and you're ignoring that God, and you're looking for a God outside of yourself when God is already in you. Okay? Again, I'm not here to push nobody else's thing away, but I am here to give a different perspective. Okay? Now, when you look at the Sanskrit version is to strike again, retaliate, or to resist. Now, go look this stuff up, y'all. Now, when you look at the word sorcery, now, when you look at magic, it's going to say sorcery is going to be in there. But when you look at the word sorcery, there's going to be another definition in there, and it's going to be called theurgy. That is spelled Theurgy. I'm going to spell that one more time. Theurgy. Theurgy. So all of that is a definition of sorcery. Sorcery also falls under the definition of magic and alchemy, right? All the stuff they tell y'all is not of God, that's evil and all of this. We've been taught these things from a monolithic mindset, right? Why is that dangerous? Because it takes you to a place to where you're not open to receive proper information when you're able to get the facts to the things we've been taught, so that you'll know you have not been taught properly, right? If magic and sorcery was evil, then why is that word theurgy in its definition? Because when you look up the word theurgy, it falls up under the word theos, Theos, which means God. Okay? It means God. Theurgy, theos, theology, all the study of God, right? So if all of those things mean God, and it goes back to magic and sorcery and chemistry and science and all of this other stuff, then why is it bad and how is it bad? It's not. It's not bad. Alchemy, chemistry, magic, sorcery, all of this stuff is transformative. So if transformative goes back to chemical science, then that means God is science, magic is science, alchemy is science, sorcery is science, everything is magic, everything is sorcery, everything is science, and everything is God, right? But we have not been taught these things. All of these words are both modularized and monolithic because they all do the same thing, yet they mean different things with different systems and components. And as far as I'm concerned, this is, when you look at the polarity of human behavior, you have to know how to balance that. And we don't have balance in society because everybody have their own way of seeing things, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you are not open-minded enough to go and get the truth of the matter, when you're not open-minded enough to see things clearly, and you walk around in this Eight of Swords mindset thinking that you have knowledge and wisdom, that's a good way to bump your head. You're not going to see anything with this blindfold on with your hands tied to your back with swords all around you. That's called the blind leading the blind. And we have a lot of that going on in our society. Why? Because nobody wants to go research nothing and get to the bottom of it. Nobody wants to get to the bottom of things, right? Then we have this thing about karma that we've been talking about lately. Karma. When you look at karma in tarot, you will see this Wheel of Fortune, because karma is a cycle of things that goes round and round and round and round and round and round. And if something is going round and round and round, you're going to keep receiving the same thing on this wheel until you decide to stop it and get off of it. When you are in this Eight of Swords energy, which is the monolithic mindset, you're going to keep creating generations of families in the same mindset with the same thoughts, the same attitudes, and the same belief systems. So we're going to continue to keep getting the same results each generation, each generation, each generation. And we wonder why we are still in the same condition we are in as a people, or the world is in the same condition that it's in, because we continue to keep believing and teaching the same mindsets. So guess what? My grandma, my great-grandma, and my great-great-grandma, granddaddy did it. My great-uncles did it, and I'm going to do it too. That's called a karmic cycle. So karma is everything that you keep doing and reliving and bringing to yourself, and then wondering why nothing ever changes. And a lot of people think that karma is something that comes to you based off of what you do to other people, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And that is not what the science of karma is. The science of karma is a multiversal law that if you keep repeating the same things and be inflexible in your mindset, or inflexible of changing your ideas or changing the way that you do things, you're going to repeat those same patterns, and they're going to continue. You're going to keep getting the same results. That's what karma is. So today, a lot of us are living walking karma because of how we were raised, what we were taught to believe and think. Okay, so I don't want to stay here too much longer. I did want to touch on human behavior based off the modularity versus the monolithic mindset. All right, and I feel like I've been able to accomplish that. And I wanted to share with you guys that this is part of the reason why a lot of people are having a hard time healing themselves, because they have a hard time coming out of that same mindset that they are afraid to let go of. They're afraid to open up. They're afraid to do something new. They go through these karmic cycles. And so what I do in my business, I have a business, and it's called Manifestations and Constellations Spiritual Service. And what I do is I help people break up that karmic cycle. I help people break out of that Eight of Swords mindset. I help people get to the root of the issue so that they can go and heal that root, or dig out that root, get rid of it, and start a new cycle to where they can bring good karma into their lives. Good karma, pass down good karma in their generation. And I just wanted to give a snippet of a little bit of the stuff that I do. I just did a curriculum, and it's called Manifestations, Constellations, Schoolhouse of Liberal Minds. And I'm getting ready to open it up so that people can come in and really get to the root and get to the, we got to get all the way down in the rabbit hole, y'all. We can't do nothing on the surface. That's not going to work. You have to get down all the way to the root, to the black hole of things. And that's what I do here. So I want to play just a little bit of chapter 1 and what I call spiritual rehab. This is what I do. All right. And I'm only going to give just a little bit of it. And for those who are interested, you can message me on Facebook at Ncktur'nl Sanchez. That's NYEREE SANCHEZ. And I will be posting this video on Facebook. So I'm just going to give a snippet of it, of what some of the curriculum is like. Some of the things
Chapter
that I
1.
speak about.
Spiritual rehab.
If you can hear it.
Spiritual rehab is the process of learning how to reacquaint with your complete self, mentally, spiritually, and physically. Realigning with your natural divine identity and understanding the makeup of yourself is a form of rehabilitation to your individual and overall purpose of life. Psychology deals with the intricacies of how the mind operates, intakes and digests information. Spirituality encompasses our core existence, survival skills, perception, and attitude of life. A combination of both creates a culmination of spiritual psychology. Therefore, the first step of developing a liberal mind is to go into its mental makeup and its core beliefs. When a car has developed an issue, warning lights will come on in the vehicle to alarm the owner that there is an issue. When a mechanic services a car, parts and labor is included, because the car sometimes needs to be taken apart so the mechanic can go within and locate the core problem. Sometimes a car has a loud motor, but the issue causing the loudness might be small, whereas some cars can cut off without warning, and the problem can be bigger than it appears to be. Energetically, we as humans operate the same. When we are having personal issues, we also have receptors that are triggered, and we get warning signals that can help us locate the issue.
Okay, so I'm going to stop there. And that's just a snippet of it. I have a part 1, part 2, and part 3. And I'll give details to those that are interested. And if you are, you can message me again at Nairi Sanchez on Facebook, NYEREESANCHEZ. I am not interested in people who only want personal readings. I'm only interested in people who are ready to go the distance and the mile and come out of this monolithic mindset, open their minds so that they can find their own individual purpose and find their own way and their own individuality and embrace it. And start their life under a new cycle and start learning how to develop and manifest the things to themselves that they truly desire, and stop living in this falsehood mindset of pretending that things are better, things are good when they're not, things are better than what they are when they're not. You only lying to yourself. You're only lying to yourself. So on that note, I hope somebody got something out of this, y'all. Thank y'all for joining me. Thank y'all for who tuned in. Thank y'all whoever liked the live, because I can't see worth nothing. So I don't know who seen, who stayed, who didn't. But if 2 people got something out of this, I'm glad, I'm happy. Share the live, and I see y'all on Facebook. If you on Facebook, get on Facebook, share the video, and let's get it, y'all. On that note, she out. Peace. Now, how do I click off of this thing? Because I never know how to do it.